Well, hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Aftershock Weekly. This week, we're going to wrap up our series on a strong digital marketing presence, and we're going to talk about analytics. Analytics is extremely important because this is data that you can look at, and it'll tell you whether you're making good decisions or bad decisions and help you to spend your money wisely. So, analytics is a general term. We're going to talk today about Google Analytics, Facebook Analytics, things to look at there so you can make better decisions. First off, with Google Analytics, if you've ever been on there, there are 1,000 different metrics that you can look at on where people are coming from, whether it's organic, whether it's paid, what pages they're visiting, how long they're staying on the site. It can be very, very confusing. So I'm going to give you a few nuts and bolts to look at from an advertising standpoint, and then we'll do the same with Facebook. So the first thing you want to do with Google Analytics is you want to go over into the section where you can look at the paid advertising. Once you are there and you can see the analytics of how long they stayed on the site, what the bounce rate was, how many pages did they visit on average, and then was there a conversion if you've got conversion tracking set up. These are metrics that you want to keep in consideration. So the first thing is time on site. This can be a variable, meaning that if the average conversion time is 3 minutes, and you know for someone to read information and make a decision that they want to talk to you, and you see that the average person's on there for 3 minutes, great, no problem there. If your bounce rate is super high because they're landing on a specific page, that's okay. A bounce rate just means that they landed on one page, they didn't go anywhere else on the site, and they left. Because if they land on a page and they're able to take that action that you're asking them for right there, then your bounce rate is going to be high. And you want it to be high because your whole goal is to get them to convert. Now, for the most part, with organic traffic, though, that's usually not the funnel. They might come in on a page that's talking about a specific product that you have. And they're like, oh, well, let's look and see other kind of products they have. And then, oh, let's maybe take a look about the company, how long it's been around, and then all the while, maybe there's a pop-up, maybe there's something in the sidebar that's a call to action. They decide to take action. In a case like that, they came in organically through a random page. They weren't necessarily looking to take an action, so your bounce rate's going to be really low, meaning that they came to one page and then they started looking at more information on other pages. That's the idea if it's organic. Now, if I'm advertising and I'm sending them to a specific landing page where they can take the action, I don't mind my bounce rate being high. It's actually a good thing. It means they took the action that I was looking for them to take. So you look at that, and then you say, okay, what is my cost per acquisition? Meaning, if I'm sending traffic to a specific landing page, and I spent $100 to get them there, and that yielded 10 calls, that means $10 was my cost per lead. Then you can break down, okay, of those 10 phone calls, what's my average that turns into business? When I have that bike shop, like we mentioned in episode 1, and they call in, and I know that of 10 people that call, 5 of them are going to come in and get service. So then you can say, what's the average cost of my service times 5? And now you know of every $100, it's going to yield you X amount of dollars. That's your ROI. That's what you can do with these analytics. Now, let's step back to A/B testing. Let's say you're running an ad and you're sending them to 2 separate landing pages. And you see one landing page is converting better than the other landing page. And maybe it's just a difference in format. Maybe one has like a one-page layout. One, it's got more information in a sidebar, and you're testing those things. Or one has a call to action at the top. One doesn't have a call to action at the top but has a pop-up. You're going to see whether the call to action is always there or the pop-up is working better. These are things you can test on separate landing pages to give you data to say the next time I run an ad, we're going to run a pop-up because we had a better conversion rate. We got more customers from that. And then you can test something else. Now they both have pop-ups, but there may be different call to actions. These are things that analytics will give you. So what is the bounce rate? Remember, the bounce rate, if you're advertising, is not as important as it is if somebody's coming organically. If you see a high bounce rate from an organic, somebody just stumbling upon your website, chances are your site's slow, they're not finding what they want, and they're leaving. But if you're sending them to a specific landing page through an ad, you know the bounce rate is probably going to be high. It's okay because that's the action that you want them to take. So Moving on to Facebook advertising is very similar. You're looking at similar things, meaning let's say you're running an ad. You want to see what the click-through rate of that ad, especially if you're running 3 different ads like we talked about in our Facebook episode. You want to see which one has a better click-through rate, and then as the click-through rate, which one is leading to the best cost per acquisition. Sometimes you're running Facebook lead ads where you're going to capture the information right there, so you'll get a very clear of every $100 I spend, that's yielding to 20 leads, so $5 a lead. And then of that, what's turning into business, and then you can calculate out your ROI. And whichever one is performing best, boom, you shut the other 2 down, and then you can test more lately. Then you might also be running videos. If you're running a video to an audience that you know you want to stay in front of, maybe it's even more of a branding play, you can start building an audience of people that watched a certain percentage of that video so that you know later on as you're advertising video, these are video watchers. Let's show them more videos, and what you're going to find is your average video watching time with this audience is going to go way up because now you've taken out all the people that really didn't want to consume your content or didn't want to consume it for very long. So that's a distinguishing factor too you can look at with videos. One thing to keep in mind when you're testing out a video and seeing how long people are engaging with it, you can test 2 different videos with different openers. One of the things that we found, even with our Aftershock online, is when we started advertising and we took out the big intro and we engaged with a little segment with our guest on something that was very interesting, we had a far greater view time than we had before when we were running the intro because people didn't know what the heck it was, or they thought maybe it was a former episode. So we're engaging them with that person, a specific story, and we found that people are staying on longer. Little things like that you're always trying to keep in mind to say, hey, how can I make sure that we're staying in front of and engaging with our audience even when it's on an advertising side, because people want to be entertained if you want to keep their attention and then eventually get them to buy from you. Well, if that's your goal with your specific business strategy on Facebook, which it probably is. I can't even think of a reason that it wouldn't be. So those are some things to keep in mind with analytics. Always be studying what people are doing, what actions they're taking, what the percentages are on click-through rates, the cost per acquisition. And when you're looking at those things and you're testing, A/B testing things, you want to make sure your cost per acquisition is going down, your click-through rate is going up, because ultimately that's going to get you more business over time. Thanks for tuning in this week. If you found value over the last 5 weeks and you have questions, I know there's a lot, and we just hit on the tip of the iceberg. So schedule a time with our team and we can talk to you about your business and how we can make sure these components are maximized for your business success. So if you click below, you'll see a link. You can schedule a free consultation with my team. We look forward to talking with you soon, and we'll see you next week.